Great to welcome, joining us now, author of another one of his great series of books. This is the second in the Nick Mason series, called actually The Second Life of Nick Mason. It's called Exit Strategy, a follow-up to really a great bestseller that came out last year. And we're joined today by Steve Hamilton on the telephone on his busy book tour in Chicago today. And Steve, good to talk with you. How are you today?
Thanks, Doug. I'm doing great. It's great to be on your show.
Looking at your schedule here, it says a 2-week tour with 22 events throughout all the different cities. So that's the bane of being an author. You got to go on the road, right?
Yeah, but I really kind of love it because I mean, the travel kind of gets to you, but it's the one time that we get to sort of get out of your writing room and go really connect with people and sort of realize that people read this stuff and they really spend time with it and they know these characters just as well as you do.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of interesting because a writer is a bit of a lonely lifestyle, I guess, in a sense. You're in a room or wherever you do it, but you're doing it by yourself. Nobody can really sit next to you and tell you how to do it, right? So then you get out and you got to meet the people reading it.
You're right, and that's what makes it such a great experience, really, because that's what makes it all worth it. When you realize, really the best thing is when somebody comes up to you and says, "You just totally ruined my day at work," because I got the book the first day and I had to keep reading it and I couldn't stop and I was up all night or half a night, whatever, and I was a wreck the next day. And of course I apologize, but that is literally the nicest thing you can tell a writer.
Well, congratulations again on the Nick Mason series. The last one was, I believe, last summer or fall, right? They got great reviews and follow up right away.
Yeah, last May.
Yeah.
And so here I am again, and one year later, and this series, Don Winslow is a friend of mine. He's a great crime writer himself. He wrote The Cartel, a bunch of really good books. He said something the other day. He said that this series is like if Michael Mann, the guy who made Heat and did Miami Vice back in the day. If Michael Mann had made a Jason Bourne film, that's what this series would be.
Yeah.
And I really like that because it sort of gets to the idea that it's a good fast-paced thriller, but with like this real hard crime edge with this main character, Nick Mason, who's in this impossible situation.
Yeah, again, just for the people that aren't aware, he's a convicted felon. He was in jail, going to be sentenced to jail for 25 years, gets out after 5, and that's kind of where the fun begins, right?
That's where the fun. That's where his second life begins. He makes this deal to walk out of prison, like you said, not just walk out, but to have this whole new amazing life in a townhouse on the north side of Chicago, and restored Mustang and a beautiful roommate, $10,000 cash at the beginning of every month. So really, that first book was, he takes that deal because for a basic human reason, which I hope anybody can relate to, whether he's a criminal or not, he takes the deal so he can see his family again, so he can see his ex-wife and especially his daughter. But really that first book was about finding out just what the cost of that is, because whenever that phone rings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, he has to answer it and then go do whatever he is told to do, no matter what.
And the guy that gives him his orders is a guy that's been in jail, double life term, Darius Cole, right? He's the guy that kind of gave him this deal, but now he's indebted to him.
Yeah, he's owned by him, really. And now here in the second book, really the stakes are kind of raised because these assignments that Cole sends him on are getting more and more dangerous. And even more than that, Nick is sort of feeling himself turning into this machine that Cole is kind of creating, and he's sort of losing himself. He's losing his humanity, and he decides that he just can't do it. He has to get out.
Almost an anti-hero in a sense, right? That Cole is.
Well, yeah,
Mason is, rather.
I was just talking about this the other day with somebody, how, especially in crime writing, you have all these characters who are on the right side of the law or the wrong side of the law, or there's all these shades of gray that are in between. And when you're writing these characters as a crime writer, really, there was something that Hemingway said once. He said that a writer should understand his characters but not judge them.
Right.
Which is kind of a shorthand way of saying just make them real and understand where they come from and why they are the way they are, where they grew up, what choices they had, and what drives them, which isn't going to be something much different than what drives anybody, wanting the best for yourself or your family, doing what you have to do, what you feel you have to do to get there, and that's what anybody does. And so that's all I try to do with these characters in these books, is just make them make them real, and then you can judge them whether Darius Cole is a total flat-out villain criminal, or if someone like Quintero who works for him. And in this book, you get to see him with his family, taking care of his daughter. So that should sort of it shows a different side of him. And of course, Nick Mason, there's no excuse for the fact that the first time you meet him, he is a criminal. He's in prison. He did these things. He made a mistake. He's in prison. But he takes this deal to see his daughter again. So, it's one of the most amazing things is how people have sort of responded to this character and how much they root for him, even though he is doing some pretty terrible things.
And in this story, Exit Strategy, he has to infiltrate the Federal Witness Protection Program. So that makes an interesting plot line.
That's a challenge, yeah. I got to learn a lot about the program. It's been...
Can you find out much about it? Because obviously they don't want people to know a lot about it.
Well,
is there a way?
Can. I mean, they're actually very proud of it, and they want people to know that if you do cooperate with the federal investigation and you are offered, the Witness Protection Program or WITSEC, as the marshals call it, they protected over 9,000 witnesses over the years, and nobody's ever been killed. As long as you follow their rules,
right,
you're going to be safe. So as a writer, you take that as a challenge, of course. It's like, what would you have to do to finally be the first person to infiltrate that system?
In Goodfellas, then they put the guy in witness protection. He wound up in Arizona or somewhere. Remember at the end of the Goodfellas movie?
Right, exactly, yeah.
It says I'm eating macaroni and ketchup instead of spaghetti.
Exactly. Yeah, the most famous one is Sammy the Bull, says it's Sammy Gravano, who flipped on Gotti, and that's where he ended up. Of course, he didn't follow the rules, and he sort of came out of hiding a little bit. He was sort of the exception, but they will send you. They'll actually ask you where you want to go, and then send you somewhere else.
Right.
because they don't want anybody to figure out. Oh, you love Hawaii and you always wanted to go there. Guess what? You're not going there because other people might know that about you.
Yeah.
So that's why we're sending you to Iowa instead.
Well, it's a great character, and I always like to ask, in particularly series of novels, has Nick changed a lot from book one to book two? I guess he must evolve a little bit, right?
He does. I mean, he's still the same core person, but I mean, it's funny is that this book is really about him trying not to change too much,
right, not
to become this other person. So he's trying to hold on to himself, and that's why he has to make this choice that trying to get out of this cage that he's in. And by the end of this book, there's a lot of everything kind of gets turned upside down.
I know the first book, from reading your notes, I guess they're looking at making a movie about it, so that's good news for you, right?
They are Lionsgate is making a movie right now.
Oh, they are making it. Oh, good. It's already in works then.
Lionsgate, yep. It is in development, as they say.
As an author of the novel, once they decide to make a movie, do you get any input on the script at that point, or is it just your book that they take?
In some cases, you don't. In this case, I am involved with it, and I'm glad, and I get to see what they're doing. And I think they're going to, we all know about how often they don't get it right.
That's what I mean. A lot of authors aren't always happy with the movies.
No, but I think they're going to do a great job, I think, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Great. Well, in the meantime, we invite everybody to get Exit Strategy, a Nick Mason novel written by best-selling author Steve Hamilton, just out. And Steve, give out your website. People can get more information about you in the book.
Sure. The website is authorstevehamilton.com, or you can always hit me up on Twitter at authorsteve. I'm there a lot these days.
Great. Steve, pleasure talking to you. Good luck on the book tour, and look forward to the next book. When that comes out, we'll have you on then. But thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks a lot.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles Media.